Welcome to Dementia-Friendly Prince George's County, Maryland Northern Sector webinar series for caregivers. Today's topic is Caregiving, How to Love Yourself, sponsored by Prince George's County Government and the Department of Family Services.
I've had the privilege of working with so many people over the years, for decades. And I've been running groups with persons that are pretty unfocused at the beginning of the group. And at the end of the group, their caregivers will say things like, how do you do what you do? I got my mother back for a little while. I can be with my wife. My dad recognized me. He's talking. They're talking to me. How do you do that? How do you bring them back to life for a while? Teach us. And that's what I'm trying to do tonight, a little bit of the teaching. Because to love someone is to learn the song in their heart and sing it to them when they've forgotten. And you know, we forget what makes us happy, let alone them. And I hope I can help guide you to more joy. Now, my goal is a minute of recognition. And what's the value of what I do? That there may be more of a choice for compassion, less resentment, and more acceptance of each other. That you take the pain and the sadness and turn it into energy and joy. Turn it into an adventure to change the expectations and find a new relationship with someone. And what's the hardest thing? You want to be able to talk with somebody, and many people with dementia don't have words. So it's one of the most important tools we have is to talk. We let people know what we want, what we think, how we feel, that we love, that we're frustrated, that we need a hug, or we're thirsty or hungry. That's what I mostly concentrate on in my groups, is get people to talk again. They need words. And part of getting to the words is relating to the person. My suggestion is you come to the person with warmth, a smile, compassion, and greet them introducing yourself. For instance, hi, Mom, it's Pat. And I'm your daughter, and we have so much fun together, and I love you so much. You're on their level. If they're sitting, you sit. If they're standing, you stand. And you hold their hands, and you talk. Now, how do you bring words to them? First, you need to do your own talking, and you know, if it doesn't end up them talking back, it's okay. You have started talking. And though one of the secrets that I love to do is take their ability to give to you. That you have a need, because you have to learn some things. You have to remember some songs and some nursery rhymes. And you started, for instance, little Jack Horner sat in a, and Baba Black Sheep have you, and give them a chance to give to you to help you through what you are learning. Humpty Dumpty sat on, and you can do that with songs too, all kinds of songs, where you started a song that might touch them, touch their hearts, and just help me with this song, will you? You are my son, and give them a chance to gift you. A lot of people are brought back in terms of words and having the words to communicate by singing and hearing and connecting and having a reason to connect because they're being appreciated and respected. You need to keep talking and laughing and joking. And if you have music, move to it together. It's a great way of connecting. You talk about your day, about your work. It can be a monologue. But once they start talking, then the panic sets in. Now, what am I going to talk about? You've got everything. You've got all the memories of senses, of body and music and taste and sound. You have the memories of having a baby and dancing the foxtrot and the sun and times of joy and love memories and excitement. You have skills of gardening, and my mother used to love folding the laundry and feeling the warmth of the laundry and doing something. You have art memory. I remember somebody who never appreciated art at all saw a painting and was mesmerized by the blue in that painting. And that was okay too. There's music, there's dance. I was somebody in one of my groups, there was this lady who had been in a wheelchair for quite some time. And we had a Halloween role play and she needed to trick or treat. And she got up and did a dance. Nobody had ever asked her if she danced when she was little, but she did her dance as her treat, as her trick. People will surprise you by what they can do. It's wonderful to touch on life period memories like childhood and teenage years and types of events and going to the beach and all the songs, popular tunes, religious hymns, children's songs, military music, patriotic music. There are major events and expectations like Elvis Presley on the Ed Sullivan Show. Stories like, how did you meet your wife? When I was a child, and childhood events. There are as many possibilities of things to talk about. But you know, these are just common sense things. And when you're under the level of stress that you are taking care of somebody with dementia, it's hard to have common sense. You have a lot of things going on with you of making dinner and taking care of your bills and your job and your life. And to the person who has dementia, you're it. You're everything. Your smile is everything. Your presence is all they need and all they want. So to connect up with that and let the rest of it go for a little bit and just be present. Allow yourself to be loving to that person. When you are, by the way, if the person sees you as someone else, for instance, my sister Rita has arrived. It's all right to be Rita. You may learn a great deal being Rita. Oh, yes. What was it we always did together? Rita, you were the best hugger I ever knew. It's all right to let your ego go and just be present to the person and their world and their thinking. And when it comes to a lot of the people that I visit, they're so busy and they have to get the laundry done and the phone calls made and they take a dinner on a tray and put it in front of somebody and put them in front of the television. Well, it's fine if it's a game show or something, but like my mom used to say, don't put me in front of a movie because I get halfway through and I can't remember how it started. And also when I've worked in nursing homes and staff have wanted to watch their soaps, people with dementia, in many cases, can't differentiate between what's going on in that soap and what's going on in their lives and can be very frightened and agitated by watching that. So to be careful what they're watching and not just plop them down. And when they're eating food, there's the taste and touch and smell that can connect. Remember also that the person you love, the person you are helping, that you used to love in one way, is turning into a new person. Play to her struggles. Bridge their aloneness. And what happens is when you are able to connect and get them to connect, which I'm going to teach you a little bit about, you are bridging your own aloneness and you're not feeling so helpless. You're able to love yourself. If you can find what gives them joy, they will have a reason to be themselves as much as they can be. Now, what I'm going to present to you are these ticklers. And ticklers are what I call ticklers, are methods of bringing somebody back. An example, I'm going to tell a story about when I visited somebody in a hospital. I do chaplaincy work. And I was sent to see this man, and he is a Christian. And so I had Christian prayers in my head for him. And I walked into the room, and the TV was blasting, and his adult children were watching television. And I said, I'm here to see this man. And they said, our father, nah, he can't relate to you at all. He doesn't even feed himself. I said, do you mind if I try? And they said, sure. And I said, could you turn off the TV? They did. And I went over to him. I introduced myself, and I shared with him some very common Christian prayers, the basic ones. And he started mouthing them with me. And after we said a couple of prayers together, I asked the kids, what's his favorite music? And they said, well, it's gospel. I said, well, I don't hear it. Can you get your iPad up by his ear and play it kind of loud? And they did. And within a couple of minutes, he started moving to the music. And he started singing to the music. And he opened his eyes and he said, where am I? What am I doing here? Those are a couple of ticklers. That's what I'm talking about. Who are you, and can you come back with someone touching your spirit? My own mother, who I took care of for some time, for her, I made a photograph album of all her old pictures. And it was interesting that she saw a picture of her high school girlfriend and some cousins at the beach when they were kids. And that just started all kinds of things she wanted to talk about. Also, I figured out with her what were some of her favorite things. My mom really liked the candy that is in the shape like citrus candy that has sugar all over it. And she really liked rice pudding with custard on it. And she liked Sinatra, and she liked Chopin, and she especially liked Strauss, and she liked African violets. And a combination of those things had her wanting to relate with me. And I could always make my mother smile. I want that for you, to be fun, to be creative. And And another one of my goals is that I want you to want to be with that person because that person can still relate to you. It's hard to be with somebody who is shut down. How do you open them up? You open them up with what turns them on. You find what it is that really makes them filled with joy. I've been using these ticklers for a long time. You know, the day comes when they don't react at all, don't want to react. And that's where I created something called comfortless. So when they do talk and when they do connect, find out certain things about them. If somebody was going to walk into this room right now with a flower, what would you want it to be? And what color? You know, what was your favorite food when you were a little kid? What'd your grandma make, or your dad or your mom? What did you like touching? Did you have something that felt good, like velvet or satin or something? Maybe a little kitten? What felt good to you? What smells good? What really smells great? And get this down as a list, with the goal being that someday, perhaps, and in many cases, yes, this person might not recognize you anymore, might not be talking to you anymore, but you can walk into the room with their comfort list and you can still make them smile. It's something I wanted to read to you from the voice of someone with dementia. When I wander, don't tell me to come and sit down. Wander with me. It may be because I am hungry, thirsty, need the toilet, or maybe I just need to stretch my legs. When I call for my mother, even though I'm 90, don't tell me she's died. Reassure me, cuddle me, ask me about her. It may be that I'm looking for the security that my mother once gave me. When I shout out, don't ask me to be quiet or walk by. I'm trying to tell you something, but have difficulty in telling you what. Be patient. Try to find out. I may be in pain. When I become agitated or appear angry, please don't reach for the drugs first. I'm trying to tell you something. It may be too hot, too bright, too noisy, or maybe it's because I miss my loved ones. Try to find out first. When I don't eat my dinner or drink my tea, maybe because I've forgotten how to. Show me what to do. Remind me. It may be that I just need to hold my knife and fork. I may know what to do then. When I push you away while you're trying to help me wash or get dressed, maybe it's because I've forgotten what you have said. Keep telling me what you're doing over and over and over. Maybe others will think you're the one that needs the help with all my thoughts, and maybe, perhaps, it will be you who reaches my thoughts, understands my fears, and will make me feel safe. Maybe it will be you who I needed to thank. So observe the person. Slow down. Understand. Meet them where they are. Give them time to answer any questions, and don't ask a lot of questions. Nobody wants somebody to ask them questions that they can't answer. And always be open to their gifts. Anything they can tell you, even if it's over and over and over, because you want to give them, above all, dignity and respect. Your possibilities are such a joy. And then you see the light in their eyes and the songs in their hearts. Isn't it worth it when you're watching them deteriorate and you're feeling helpless to find their flower and their music and their joy and be able to dance together and do things together, not just sit them still and expect them to not have somebody help them find their words, help them find their way. You need to take care of yourself, and you know it, and everybody tells you, but it's okay. You need to rejuvenate, replenish, relax, reload. You must have find things that give you pleasure, because you can't deal with an empty cup. You can't drink from it. It's okay to want to go there and immerse yourself in the things that give you pleasure, like hot baths and good books and good music and sports and candles and long walks and napping and eating, but not too much. And a glass of wine, a glass. Gardening, whatever it is that gives you pleasure. Well, if it's given you pleasure in the past, take time to enjoy those things again. You do still have the ability to do that, because you have to love yourself a little bit before you can love somebody else. You see, if something happens to you, your loved one will be there all alone. You've worked and worked to take this journey with them, and you want to see it through. And they say 44% of caregivers die before those they're caring for. They're so caught up in caregiving that they forget about their own needs. Their need to be healthy, get rest, get exercise, see friends, and take time for them. So I want you to think about how mysterious caregiving is. Don't just give to your loved ones. Receive gratefully from them, whatever they may knowingly or unknowingly offer to us. Be open to their gifts. If you're open to another's gift, it promotes human dignity. You're honoring the bond that we have to each other. It helps with the attitude, but also know that the best gift that you can give them or give yourself is loving touch. Don't assume that you already know what somebody wants or what somebody needs. Share what you are truly grateful for that you receive from him or her. But say no sometimes for all the things that people want of you. Learn how to monitor your own cup. You don't want to find yourself, and we all find ourselves, in confusion and messiness. You try to manage your own overflow. We can't do everything. None of us can, especially when we don't get enough sleep. You say yes to meaningful commitments. When it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We all try to do things our way. We all are motivated by fear of doing something wrong or needing to be in control. In psychodrama, this J.L. Marino says that you are most mentally healthy when you have as many options as possible. If you only have one way of doing something and only one option, be careful. You need spontaneity. Need to struggle to get yourself free enough to be thinking of the other person and of connecting with the other person. So you draw them out. So you are allowed to have new intimacy with a new kind of person, different kinds of ideas. And if they don't make any sense, it's okay. And if they're wrong, they're wrong. They don't need to be told. You don't need to be right or argue. You just need to love them and love yourself. I have some suggestions for you. Put pleasure, even joy, into every day and every week. Try and be comfortable. Learn to recognize your own warning signs of stress, whatever they are. Work exercise into your daily routine. Add laughter to your life. Allow yourself to laugh with people, especially the person you're caring for. Don't fret over other people's shortcomings. And don't relish any past wrongs done to you. Your person might have done some wrongs, but let them go. Recognize it's not your full responsibility to make everything right in the life of another person. Take a rest break or a nap if you can. Forget about priorities. If somebody doesn't get a bath one day, it's not going to kill them. Forget that things have to have a routine. Just be present, in the present, with someone you love. And you will find it so rewarding. Find their ticklers. Everybody's are different. Everybody has different ones. Find the ticklers of the person that you love. What turns them on? What would they want to talk about? What have they ever talked about? What have they ever thought? What was their childhood like? They'll remember the past more than the present. Just go there. Be there. And if their memory isn't correct, that's okay. And if they accuse you of anything, apologize. It's okay to be wrong to them. And if there are grandchildren or children around, don't deny them the presence of someone with dementia, because they need to see how much you love them and how much you want to be with them and have that example. And also they can reach and touch someone in ways that we as adults can't sometimes. Let other people experience and love and be with the people we love. It's very caring to allow others to love the person we love, even if they do it in a different way. Nobody is perfect. Thank you very much. Hi, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Do
you have any questions?
I wanted to give you some time for questions. I can go on forever.
If there are any questions, you can be sure to drop them in the chat.
Are there any questions down there?
Yeah,
I thought maybe I could spend some time with individual issues.
Yes, Pat.
Yes? I can't hear somebody. It's kind of breaking up.
little on the here on
Miss Kathleen, are you able to write your question in the chat? Your audio is going in and out.
okay, here I am.
Okay. Yeah, now
Unmuted. Okay, can you hear me now?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. This is about respite care. Do you
Yes.
have any suggestions for people coming in, without having met the person before and so on and so forth? I mean, I think I get some ideas, and of course, the caretaker, the main caretaker would be telling you some things about them, but you're a stranger, okay? And lots of times they might be afraid of strangers or, have some the reaction to you.
Well, a lot of times having a name tag does help. And having a name that they can call you if they can read.
Oh,
But also, by the way, that's very helpful for a family gathering, for everybody to have name tags.
oh, okay.
But when you are greeting them the same way that any family member could greet them, warmth, compassion, a smile, and slowly identify yourself as someone who, and give them what task it is. But you can do that over and over again.
Right.
You don't just identify yourself once.
Uh-huh.
You continue to identify yourself.
Uh-huh.
And it's very helpful if somebody you are caring for is has a room, a special room where things are written down that they like.
Well, okay.
And experiences from their past. This is somebody who has traveled all over the world, or she has so many grandchildren and their names are blankety blank. Or this is somebody who loved to play baseball. Whatever might help the other people who are connecting with your loved one to reconnect.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes. Yes.
And
Other
then
questions, anyone?
Yeah, I know we have Miss Dorothy Davis.
Hello. There are so many possibilities. You have remarkable possibility, as many possibilities as you have imagination. And to let your imagination go wild. And it's okay to be silly, to be really silly with someone else, and to laugh. People sometimes are afraid to be silly. And it's so needed. It's so needed when you feel isolated and alone and you can't express yourself. It's so needed to be with somebody who will make you laugh.
The second question I had dealt with people who tried to correct thinking that goes sideways, and how to deal with those family members who don't want to accept what's being said and just go along with it, especially in the latter stages of dementia. How do you handle the family member who's trying to always correct and therefore agitates
Tell you something about family members. whether it's local, primary, or long distance care. Yeah. Is there a family that doesn't have some dysfunction? You know, a lot of families fall apart when a matriarch or patriarch leaves the gap and somebody tries to fill their roles. You know, somebody says, I do all the work. And, but you need to figure out family strengths and weaknesses and who can handle what responsibilities. And there's always the relative who's great at telling you how to do it and doesn't want to do it themselves. And if they do not want to do some kind of support, they shouldn't ask, what can I do? And, you know, somebody moves in with mom and dad and they say that they accuse you of living off them. And there are always unspoken expectations about finances. You can get through today by figuring out who's in charge. And if you're really in charge, this is how we're dealing with mom, or this is how we're dealing with dad or whomever. This is it. We're not going to question and say no, and you're going to have to put your ego on hold. It's okay if mom doesn't recognize you and says something that doesn't make any sense at all to you. Just go with it. You've got a different person there. This isn't the same person that before dementia. This is a new person who will say all kinds of stuff that you think is crazy. Let it go. Let it go. And if the relatives don't want to, you can say, I'm the main caregiver and I'm saying to you that you're wrong. Let the person be. Sometimes you have to be a little tough to love. Does that help?
Yes.
Families are dysfunctional. There isn't one that isn't. We all have to deal with it. Some other people with questions? By the way, if the person has fantasies and is disoriented and says all kinds of things, sometimes there's a message in what they're saying if you allow yourself to really listen. Sometimes what they're saying is about a fear. Sometimes it's about wanting to give something and not having something to give. And to allow them to know that just being with them is really important to you. That they don't need to be alone because you're there with them. So maybe the wash doesn't get done today. Maybe dinner is a breakfast dinner. Maybe things just aren't exactly the way that you anticipated. So what? You have a priority, and the priority is loving and being close to another human being. It's much more important than most of the other things you'll do in this life. Other questions?
Miss Pfeiffer, if you could.
You know, you too are trying to be whole. And stress makes us have memory problems too. You know, when you have that degree of stress, we're so busy that we ignore all of our warning signs. You know, there's no promotions or wages or applications or experience or personal references. And so you have your own isolation. And it's hard. It's just really hard to go through all of this. So allowing yourself a way to be empowered. You're empowered when you find some things that bring them back. things that meant something to them. Things like my mother's flour and other things, and food and everything. When you can play music that makes them smile and want to be present and be happy, you are empowered. You have strength. You can feel good about yourself. And you know, if they really can't remember what just happened, an hour later you can use the same darn thing and they won't remember that you used it. So you have a lot of strength, and it might change from day to day, but your person is unique. Each of us is unique and has unique needs and unique interests and history. And to discover that, to let yourself enjoy and discover that person, that new person who is taking all of those experiences and doing, and you are allowing that person to be a gift to you. And in that way, you are a gift to yourself. Ideas? Questions?
Miss Griffin, you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello?
I had a question. Is it unusual for a person with dementia to sleep all the time?
Yes. Yes. You don't want somebody to sleep all the time. It's okay to wake them up.
I know.
It's not healthy. It's not unusual, but it's unhealthy. So you find something fun to do that they would want to do, that they would want to experience. To go in and again identify yourself and let them know that there are only, and if you have any suggestions, never more than 2 things are brought up. No open-ended questions. We're going to, we're going to look at pictures, or we're going to take a walk. That's it. Or we're going to do both. But let's get you dressed. Let's go. It's all right to say, let's go. We're going to have fun.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And also, it doesn't hurt to have diversions. If something is a little bit dicey, change the subject, move on. Just like you would with any of your friends. It's okay to treat somebody with dementia like they're one of your friends. Except you don't be critical. They're not trying to make mistakes. They're not saying things so that they'll be misunderstood. It just happens to be. Another question?
I know we have one last question from Miss Pfeiffer. You can unmute yourself.
Hello?
Or if not, I know Miss Davis, you have one.
Okay. Some of the things that okay,
I do
is
have
she
a
there?
question. Yeah,
Okay.
this is Ms. Davis again. I'm not a primary caregiver. There seems to be a pattern in the family for dementia. How How do you help someone who refuses, the caregiver that is, refuses help, refuses to leave the apartment, refuses that nobody else can do what they do as well as they
Right.
do. So in
And the
effect,
person has to have homemade soup. They can never have a can of Campbell's, right?
well, or dissatisfaction with anybody that comes in to try to assist the person who needs the help. And so therefore they
Mhm.
are in fact neglecting themselves. I understand, that this webinar is directed at the actual caregiver, but as the relative of the caregiver who's seen the decline uh, with the refusal of help. I mean, there are those of us that are at a quandary as to what can be done.
It's not
Other than
unusual for one
it's
person
not
to accept all the responsibility and not let the rest of the people in to help this person.
right, right,
Because it's got to be their way and it's got to be the only that way. And there's a
right. Their
regimen.
way or the highway. Yeah.
You got it. That's a real important time to have a confrontation. It's important to have a confrontation, to let the person know that they're loved. And out of that love, we need to share. I love you, the caregiver. I am here for you. You are not letting us in, and that's not healthy for you. And I love you.
Okay.
But have a plan. Usually having a plan is helpful. A plan of what you could do and what hours you could be there. So it's not open-ended. It's I can be there on Tuesday afternoons. I have a free afternoon and I can be here with mom or whomever.
He doesn't leave. He does not leave. He stays. Okay. Yeah, I understand. And even the children have gotten burned out because of
Sure.
that. Okay. All right. Just be creative and
But you
innovative.
allow them to know that they're hurting you by doing that. It's very painful to watch somebody burn out. It's like, this is painful for us to watch this happening to you, and it's happening because you're making the choices you're making. And we can be of help. You've got more help. You're going to last longer if we help you.
Well, couldn't that be? I understand that sometimes the caregiver can develop a lot of the symptoms of the person they're caring for,
Sure.
to the point that they decline, and therefore they're in the position of having the symptoms of Alzheimer's also.
Sure.
Am I making myself?
But you can also share with them that a lot of people die before the person that they're caring for.
I already did that.
You already tried that one. You gave it the good heave ho. Yeah, but it's like I don't want you crashing. But of course you could develop that if you are so stressed and you're so tired and your entire life is based on caregiving.
Right.
Of course you're going to start falling through the cracks.
Right.
Because there's no real self-love going on there.
Yeah. Thank you.
To share that with the person, that you observe this and you are concerned that she's not going to make it. She's not going to make it as a caregiver. You don't have to say you're showing signs of Alzheimer's, because not too many caregivers want to hear that.
Are there any particular words of encouragement that would be given to a man who is caring for a female?
As opposed to a female caring for a female?
Correct.
It depends on the man, it depends on the female. It's all very individual.
Okay, thank you.
Some men are fabulous caregivers for women and very sensitive and very loving. And some just don't want to be in the same room with them.
Right, right.
And it's true for women too. I mean, there are a lot of women I know who have found it really hard and have called me up and said, would you please come over, because I can't be in the room with my mom. I can't stand it. She can't talk to me. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
So it isn't just a male or female thing. It's whomever that individual person is. And sometimes there's a history. There's a history with this person who has dementia. And sometimes it isn't a real positive history. And there you are taking care of somebody who you're not so crazy about. I'll tell you a funny. My mother-in-law had dementia, and she had Alzheimer's, and she never liked me and never got along with me. And so I was able to, when she had dementia, hug and kiss and love and celebrate and do things for her. And one day I was hugging her, and she pushed me away. And she looked at me and she said, I don't like you, do I? And I said, no, Frances, you never did. And she said, oh, I thought I lost it completely. And those were probably the most honest words I ever heard from my mother-in-law. That, you know, sometimes you can be a lot more caring with someone with dementia than you probably could if they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the person, depending on the family and the circumstances. It's so individual.
How do you handle a person who is volatile, angry, disruptive? I understand the quiet types, they're gorgeous, they're wonderful, but those who are a little bit more volatile, easy to upset and really go off as a caregiver.
Yeah.
I know
You try and find
to,
out why they're angry. Most people don't try and find out why they're angry. They just see the anger.
okay.
There's usually some kind of a reason. If they can talk, if they can tell you, even if it doesn't make any sense, if they can tell you at all why they're angry, without being told, no, you can't shout and stuff. You say, oh, I see you're angry. That's good. You can get it out. I'm so glad. Now, what you angry at? And really talk to them. People who are angry really have some reason usually, and it might not make sense to you or to me, or it might make a lot of sense. They don't know what to do with their knife and fork. They can't dress themselves. They don't want somebody else washing them. There's usually a reason. Sometimes it's physical pain that causes anger. And to get to the bottom of that is very helpful.
Or the loss of freedom.
Oh, sure. We all have that. Somebody takes away your car keys because you can't drive anymore. Are you kidding? Who's going to be happy with that one? Or you can't, you try to make something to eat in the kitchen and you can't remember what goes into it. And you just want to pick up everything and throw it. And you're angry that you can't make something you always made. And it was so easy before. but to find something that they can do. My mother loved folding laundry because it was nice and warm on her arthritic hands, and it was something she could do. She didn't have to think, she could just fold. And it made her, she was gifting me by doing that. And she smiled the whole time because she was doing something for the family. She was loving. But find out why somebody's angry if you can, without dismissing it as just anger. Okay?
All right.
And allow yourself to have humor and laugh at yourself. It's a very acceptable way of crying. And always look to your shared humanity and get some sleep.